Welcome, friends. Okay, I'll tell you a secret. I make several of these videos after a good long morning of meditation and self-reflection. And then I change my shirt between each one. So it's just everything that I like to share it's not like it's is necessary to share is about pointing again and again and again and again and again to the relationship we have to ourselves. And then sometimes the emphasis is from that deepening relationship to ourselves, from that deepening intimacy with ourselves, the deepening capacity for relationship, intimacy, connectedness with others, everyone else, other people, and everything else. If we ground deeply in a place of essential meaning in ourselves, the world we see has essential meaning, much, much deeper than any one thing we do in the world, like our career or our business or economics or any particular subject that we're taught in school. It's this fundamental grounding in ourselves through relationship with ourselves. And the challenge, always the challenge, is the part of ourselves that's capable of having that kind of relationship has to awaken and be exercised, not in service, as it was when we developed as children, in service to survival as an ego, in service to developing a separate self that can function in the world, all of which is that first stage of development I've written about extensively in my books. But here we are. And once that relationship is there, all spiritual practices, in fact, all human beings who on a path know that there are two, or at least I'm going to express it the way I understand it, there are two basic places that we bring that awake, aware self to look deeply at ourselves. And the first is with our thinking. So I have the book, The Mandala of Being, and the sequel to that, Inside Out Healing. And I teach the mandala process to some degree in all retreats, because what it is about is a yoga for the mind. It basically says, when your attention is no longer in the present, you will leave or be carried into thinking in four basic ways. And it's operating all the time. Those four basic ways are the past that we select to look at, the future that imagines out of that, the me that looks, and the stories we have about that me that inflate us or deflate us, that make us grandiose or depressive, and all then the stories we have about each other. So those are thoughts, stories, beliefs, judgments, those are thoughts. And we take this aware self and we begin to look at what do our thoughts do to us? What kind of atmosphere do they create inside of ourselves? What way do they expand or limit our ability to see outside of ourselves? So this fundamental relationship to thinking starts with when you can recognize that your thinking has shut your energy down, shut the natural kind of radiance or flow in yourself. So this shutting down or closing down I call contraction or muddiness. So the first part of the yoga of this work, and I'm talking about it, having made it a central part of my own path for a long, long time, maybe from the beginning, but gradually. I never have landed in one place that I understood clearly, except through an evolution. So that's true even as I speak to you. There's no single moment where something became clear. There's endless moments of unfolding and evolving and deepening. But it is simply true that you have to have a relationship to your thoughts, and your body tells you through contraction, your energy flows tells you through contraction when your thinking is blocking that flow. And that's one piece of the work, fundamental to the work, to witness your thoughts. Shortly before he died, Satya Sai Baba said, watch your thoughts. Every teacher said that. Watch your thoughts means not judge your thoughts. Observe that the thinking, if you're identified with it, is causing you to become angry or needy or afraid or impatient, judgmental, cynical. It takes you into all of these thought-created and modes of emotional reality in ourselves, modes of contractedness in our bodies. Watch your thoughts. Watch your thoughts gently. Watch the structure that's underneath those thoughts, aspects of yourself, parts of yourself. Watch those gently. So it's not only watch your thoughts, but watch them with compassion, watch them with kindness, watch them with gentleness, watch them with love and compassion. That's fundamental. It never stops. It goes deeper and deeper and deeper. You see deeper as you judge less who you are, as you seek to purify over and over and over again the ground from which you're living, the eyes through which you see, the ears through which you hear, the heart leading the mind instead of the mind leading the heart. The second fundamental place is that even though emotions are created by thoughts, or the images that, and then the thoughts or the reactions to those images, every reaction inside of us has its roots in some form of thinking, except if it starts before we were able to think. And there we get into fundamental sensation and fundamental feelings of safety and not safety, of satisfaction and dissatisfaction, that have their roots in very early development, in the first few years of our lives, the traumas, the atmosphere we were in where maybe our parents were unhappy, or our parents' psychological structure is already imposing itself on us before we understand what's happening to us. And then, of course, there's obvious trauma, sexual trauma, violence, violent environments. And all of this puts a kind of felt somatic sense memory in us. And to journey with that, you have to be able to come into your body and begin to journey with these troubling feelings, these difficult places, these layers of unsafety or fear or insufficiency, the sense I'm not enough. The story I'm not enough is one thing. What's underlying it is a feeling that probably starts when we're very, very young. So that second place is our ability to journey with the difficult feelings. And just like it requires an aware self that's gentle and compassionate to recognize the thoughts that are closing us down, giving us an identity that is still not the real root of who we truly are, doesn't ground us in our real essential self, from which all other relationship to life and to ourselves will emerge. You can't go deeper until you've made peace with some of these feelings. And sometimes I find I never make peace with them. I make peace in the moment with each visitation of those feelings. Many, many times in meditation, I touch that layer that I'd call unsafe. And I welcome it. I recognize it again and again, subtly, deeper, the body relaxing more and more as I get to know that place. But journeying with the aware self in the body with feelings is complementary to journeying with the aware self in thinking. Thinking is one mode of consciousness, one way of knowing, and sensation, feeling is a very different mode of knowing. Thinking is in the present moment, but thoughts root us in time. If you identify with thoughts, your thinking has become frozen. If you identify with sensations, your feeling body, your sensation body has become frozen. So it's touching these with the aware self, being curious about them, gentle, curious about them, compassionate for the you that's experiencing this unsafety, this deep, deep disturbance that seems to have always been there, which we can spend our whole lives avoiding and compensating for, but not if we're really going to get intimate with ourselves and want to know love in its root and share love with each other. So nobody can teach you this in a few minutes. Watch your thoughts, journey with your feelings. Watch your thinking and what it does to you, the emotion it creates in you. Any kind of thinking, even if the root of the thinking itself comes from very early unmet feelings, still you have to digest the identification with that kind of thinking in order to have a more and more pure and direct relationship to the underlying feelings. And then there are other feelings that begin to emerge that are entirely of a different dimension, like gratitude, and a kind of joy that is beyond your joy, and a kind of fullness and fulfillment that's not based in the satisfaction of an achievement in ordinary time. It's about literally having it, taking birth, coming into existence on this extraordinary planet with this capacity for consciousness, and then evolving ourselves through relationship to ourselves. We won't solve this from the top down with belief systems, with ideals and idealistic behaviors. We won't solve it politically. It will not be solved scientifically. Oh no, science can divide us more and more and more because the technology is breaking us apart from the natural order of things in our relationship to nature. Those are all other subjects that I sometimes bring up in these talks. But for this talk, just these two fundamental things, a relationship to your thinking, and many, many people have written about this. My book, The Mandala of Being, will really help you. But there are many other teachings that are at this, in this. Buddhism is in this. All the deep religions look at that. Vedanta, all the deep spiritual teachings. And also in our bodies. Because a lot of the deep teachings seem to forget the body. They think everything can be done in the mind, but the body is also a part of the mind. The right brain, the body, the heart are an intelligence that's in the endpoint of evolution for us. Thinking is a complementary intelligence, but we have to be able to journey with feeling, and then notice that if we don't journey in feeling, what kind of thinking does unsafety throw us into? And no matter what you do with the thinking, until you get to the unsafety in the relationship with that, you can keep purging the thinking, keep purifying the thinking, keep releasing from the thinking, but you will land in those feelings, and then they need to be journeyed with. Even though I'm not telling you how, I'm pointing to what is possible. Nobody can truly tell you how. I can tell you how I teach it, and I'm very much aware that in my work with Kathy, this is one of her deepest focuses and gifts, is getting people in touch with that, the feeling current inside of themselves and how to journey with it. So for today, just this simple message, not particularly different than all my other messages, but watch your thinking, journey with your feelings. And that builds the aware self. So aware self gets stronger. You're freed up from identification with your thinking, and you begin to have a much deeper kind of thinking. The thinking that aligns you with love, that aligns you with divine intelligence. And a body that begins to be a body of light, a body of love, more and more and more as we make space, friendship, compassion for the dark feelings inside of us that everybody has. Enough for now, and thank you.